everybody, I am the Dark Ink Angel and welcome back to Power Wash Simulator. I say back because the last stream that I was supposed to edit and then put on here, I took down because it was very controversial. And I don't feel like getting canceled for speaking my mind. So, what we're going to do is try it again. Alright. And I'm going to try to read these little side things. Great news! I finally found a van for you at the auctions under your budget. Don't freak out when you see it. It looks like it's been dredged from the bottom of a lake. But that's a good thing. It meant no one else would bid on it. They missed out. Underneath that hideous layer of gunk is your perfect workhorse. Engine's a dream. No rust. There's even equipment in the back. Just need a good hosing down and you're in business. You'll certainly earn your pressure washing stripes getting this thing clean. Yeah, I'm sure I will. So, yeah. Like I said, this is the entire game right here. That's the game. And, oh my god. We're gonna do the tutorial real quick. So, we are gonna go and do what we were doing before. I have gotten a lot of games. I want to start by saying that. I'm gonna be playing a lot of games, and if you watched the video that I'm gonna put up in the top right corner, when Eva sends me back the stream VOD that fully edited so I can upload it. And that video basically talked about what my new schedule is gonna be like and how I am gonna be trying my best to stick to it. I'm gonna pick 4 games to play, and then I'm going to play them until it's all said and done. Essentially, how it's going to work is I'm going to play the 4 games, but how I'm going to do it is I'm going to play 2 episodes of one game, 2 episodes of the next, 2 episodes of the next, and then it's going to cycle through. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to do randomizing in terms of which game I play after the 4th game. No, Fortnite does not count as one of the games that we're going to be quote-unquote playing. The kill count and clips from my Fortnite streams, those are all going to be things that just happen to be done. So that's something that's going to happen regardless. That makes it easier for me, and it also makes it easier for everyone else. It also gives the channel more variety without having to worry about any of the side effects. If you've watched my Undertale series, then please continue to watch it. That Undertale is one of my favorite games, and I'm pretty sure I said that in the video. But it is one of my favorite games of all time, which is funny because I usually don't pick favorites, but I can't help it with Undertale. So, it's funny because I was talking to my dad about Undertale because it's 10 years old, and I was like, did you know that Undertale game that you got me? Did you know that game's like 10 years old now? And he's like, what? And then we started talking about how gaming has evolved in terms of like graphics. And he said that he finds it somewhat funny that my generation is the generation where it's like we prefer the pixel graphics, while his generation, when it was gaming, was all about the improvement of the graphics. And I had to explain to him that's like, it's not that we don't want the graphics to improve, because we do. As gamers, we do. But at the same time, we also enjoy the old style of gaming because it was a lot simpler and oftentimes a lot more entertaining than these AAA games made by these, well, alphabet people. So, that's all I have to say about that. There's a removals van outside my nightmare neighbor's place. They're finally going. Whoever moves in there is going to need a quality pressure washer. That's where I come in. But anyway, so basically, woke AAA games are not great. Like, most of them are terrible. And to summarize what I said that was quote unquote controversial, I talked about how the whole agenda being forced upon our children is annoying and that we as Christians need to accept them, but we also need to try and guide them to the light without being hateful. That was the summary of my message. But to not talk about that, I basically talked about how most of the games today aren't exactly too great due to agenda and whatnot, and that doesn't really make it bad. It's just most of the games aren't written properly that are entertaining. So I kind of helped him understand. It's funny because my dad, uh, if I were to tell my younger self 10 years ago that my dad would be this chill gamer dad 10 years from then, my younger self would probably look at me as if I'm insane and walk away because, like, I couldn't imagine my dad being a gamer when I was a kid. Especially because, he was always the dad that told me to get off the game and you need to go outside more. And it's like, because I did go outside more. And he never really had time to game. But it's funny because earlier this year, when my PS5 was finally, yes, and it's my PS5, once I was finally allowed to take it inside my room. How dare you cut me off? Anyway, before I was allowed to take it inside my room, I never got to play my PS5, and it was supposed to be for me, but I never played it because my sister was always on it. And if I got on it, she would immediately he's been on there forever, even though I just got on there. So, Van looks fantastic. Told you'd be fine under the grime. I've pinged you the $100 left over from what you gave me. So that should help you get off. Oh, God. So that should help get you off the ground. Also, I just met my new neighbor over the fence. Grumbly about his dirty backyard. Told him he'd give you a shout. Looks like you've got your first customer. Awesome. Hey, Doc. I hope you like a challenge, because I'm pretty sure I've got the dirtiest backyard you've ever seen. I doubt that, considering that we're not even scratching the surface of the game. And that's not me bragging, by the way. I had nothing to do with it. I just moved back to town for a bit to help my folks, who are both down to their last knee, and rented what I thought was a great little place. Should have questioned why there weren't any garden pics in the ad. They must have bred rhinos here or something. Anyway, my girls are itching to get out there. I don't want them still itching when they get back inside. So please do your thing. Thanks a lot. Calvin Miller. So basically, when I finally moved the PS5 in my room and put my PS4 into my sister's room, the only console that Dad had to play was the Nintendo Switch that we had. Which is funny because he played a bunch of Assassin's Creed when we got the Switch. He slowly got back into gaming, and he played Assassin's Creed, and he loved the Assassin's Creed games. And so I recommended him games like God of War and Skyrim. and now he's obsessed with Skyrim. Like, he bought a whole PS5 just to put in the living room, so that way he could have one, and didn't have, because he didn't want to take mine out of my room every time he wanted to play, which was really nice. But he got a PS5 for his birthday, which is sick, and we've been basically talking gamer talk for a while, which is really cool because I'd never expected my dad to be that type of dad, because he was always like super strict on what games I could play, or um, he would set time limits or whatever. Because he used to be one of those dads where it's like you'd be playing an online game and it's like, well, it's an online game, I can't pause it. And it's like, I don't care, pause the game. You know, he'd be one of those dads. But now, whenever it's now the roles are switched, where it's like now whenever we gotta go something, me and Dad are talking about his Skyrim because he's showing me something, and then we're like, we gotta go, and he's like, oh, come on, I'm almost done. We're not gonna be late. We'll be fine, which is really funny, and I find that awesome because, you know, gives me something to relate to him with. And it's funny because he often asks me for help with games that he plays because most of the games that he's played so far I have played before. So, you know, I'm basically his cheat sheet. But he's having fun, and that's really cool. Another thing, though, about my dad is that I posted a video on TikTok talking about TikTok's dark mode. And he basically texted me saying, dude, kind of cringed, just saying. Because I was very surprised, and I'm like, dude, that's hilarious that you said that. And then he said to be more careful about my cursing and stuff because of my grandparents watching my stuff, and he didn't know that they don't have TikTok, and that they wouldn't even know how to use it if I tried to show them. No offense, Grandma, because I know you guys watch my stuff. And I tried to play it off because TikTok was kind of the platform where I don't have to worry about that sort of judgment. Now, I'm not trying to defend my cursing. It's like I know it's not good and it's a habit I'm trying to break, but it's not as easy as you think, because when you grow up in a cursing household, that habit kind of becomes your own habit. I'm not throwing shade at Dad, I'm just saying that's how habits work most of the time. So, basically, I made a video replying to him saying that it's really funny that he called my video cringe and I found it hilarious and stuff. And that I reassured him that they don't have information on TikTok, like they don't know how to use it. And by the way, Grandma, I know you're watching this, so no, there is nothing bad on it. I curse a lot more on there than I do on here because that's usually where I post my rant videos talking about the current situations that are going on, such as controversy and whatnot, just to ride the trend. And I'm trying to get better. I am, sorry. So, Lord forgive me. So, but it's funny because I made that video and then he texted me 2 days afterwards. And he's like, "You fucked up," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" So apparently he had already been in a bad mood that day. So when he saw that video, he thought I was being disrespectful, even though I made it specifically for comedy, for comedic purposes. So I had to explain to him that I'm like, no, 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 that's not what I meant. I was trying to be like funny. I was trying to make you laugh. And eventually he calmed down and it was fine. He found it funny afterwards, but I could also see it from his perspective that it could be seen as disrespectful. So I do understand his perspective, and I'm trying to take my family's perspective into account. But I'm also kind of glad that my parents and whatnot are not judging me for my content. Like, they're not seeing my content and then being like, we need to spray some holy water on this child. He curses too much, because they know that it's a bad habit, and they know that habits are hard to break, especially cursing. So I know I'm glad that they have that understanding and that I'm not getting scolded for having a mouth. Their main concern is that, well, what if you say that during a job interview, or what if you say those things during school? It's like, I have the self-awareness and control to not say it in front of family. And it's funny because I showed my aunt one of my videos because my great cousin was over, and I was showing her my video because she was interested in whatnot, and her boyfriend that was there, we were talking gaming, and I showed them the video, and Aunt Sue was surprised at how many F-bombs I was dropping. And so basically I told, and she's like, I'm like, well, I did warn you that I cuss quite a bit on my channel and stuff. And she's like, well, can't you find a more intelligent word? And I'm like, I am trying. And she's like, well, trying is better than nothing. And she basically expressed the fact that she was grateful that I didn't cuss around her. Because that was the point I was trying to make. I was like, I have the self-awareness to not say those things around my family, and in certain scenarios where it's potentially dangerous to say such things, and it could get me in trouble. So, thank you for understanding. Another weird thing that's been happening recently is I've had really bad gas buildup. If you watch my TikTok, then you know I made a video on gas multiple times. Uh, Essentially, what happens is if you eat too fast, you can have air pockets in your stomach, and that's why you need to burp. But because I didn't burp before going to bed, and when you go to bed, you're laying down, so that those air bubbles just sit in your stomach, floating upward, and eventually your brain is like, okay, well, you need to throw up or something because you're gonna start feeling nauseous. So if that's what it takes to get you to wake up and burp, then that's what's necessary. I've had constant gas the past couple days. Constant gas. Like, non-stop. And it's really, yes, I do bikes, and I'll do your bike after, but like, Jesus, I cannot express just how much gas I've had in this past week, and it hurts so much. Like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up and shit, and I'm like on the toilet trying not to throw up because I hate throwing up. Everyone hates throwing up. It's a horrible feeling. So, yeah, it sucked. And it's constant. And I looked it up finally. I'm like, what's the cause? What is the cause? Because I thought it was because I had a pop before bed. But that's the thing, though. I didn't have a pop, so I was confused. I was like, what's going on? And I looked it up, and it's like, well, if you eat too fast, you could make air pockets in your stomach, which could cause you to feel bloated, which could cause you to feel nauseous, which means you need to burp in order to release that gas. And I'm like, oh. So I actively have to force myself to slow down when I eat now. Because I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night over the toilet seat taking sips of a fizzy drink, trying to force air bubbles out. So there's that. Okay, spoilers. I just got this thought in my head and I feel like I should share it. I got to see Demon Slayer Infinity Castle arc. Yeah, on Sunday. It was god-like, dude. That shit was peak. Like, no question about it in my mind. Now, obviously, I knew what was going to happen already. And to be honest, if my dad wasn't there, I probably would have cried because of Akaza and Shinobu's backstory and whatnot. Or Akaza and then Shinobu's death. Spoiler alert, by the way. But I read the manga, so I already knew what was gonna happen, but to see it happen, that was like an eye-opening experience. It was awesome. Also, another thing about my dad that I find really wholesome and hilarious is that whenever I mention anime, the first thing he goes to is like, "Oh, we're gonna look at people with big tits," which I find hilarious because he's like, "Yeah, that is partially what anime is known for, you know." But to see my dad just say that so casually, it was funny. And on the way there, I was like, "Well, Well, let's see. There's a multiple deaths and a lot of blood, so I doubt there will be any tits in this one." And then, of course, we saw Mitsuri, to which Dad looked at me, and I said, "Well, I could explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you." So, yeah, that was funny. And, like, because my dad's one of those dads where he's like, he used to watch a bunch of documentaries all the time, which is, like, weird because I used to watch them with him because, that's just what was on the TV. And a lot of times they were interesting. They were like documentaries on like killers and stuff. I don't know if Dad ever wanted to be a cop or something, but And we would watch Forensic Files, which is a really awesome show, very well made. And it was very sad to see it leave the Netflix. Why did I say the Netflix? It was very sad to see it leave Netflix, so I have to watch it on like uh, a quote-unquote free movie site. My dad was one of those dads who watched documentaries, action movies, and stuff like that. So what was supposed to happen is my best friend was supposed to come with me to the movie theater, but she got busy, and we almost canceled. But then Dad's like, "No, no, no, I can go," and it was actually very surprising because I'm like, "Are you sure? I can just wait another week for it to, get on a pirated site." And he's like, "No, no, no. We can do this." And, they bought the tickets for the subtitles. And I'll explain why we watch subtitles in a second. But we got to see it and it was very good. He enjoyed it a lot more than I thought he would, and he really liked Akaza's backstory. He was like, "I really like that part. I mean, it explains why he was the way he was." You know, it was really cool to see Dad get invested in the movie. But he had already watched anime before. He watched Death Note, which is really cool. It's a really good anime, and I've read the whole manga, so it's very well done. Very well done. But I prefer the anime because the manga, you know how it has that like um like constant speaking like all the time? Yeah, that's in the manga as well. It's like word for word. So that's a lot of words to read. Not saying I didn't read it all, but it was much easier to just hear it in the trailer that I watched. Because the truth is, I haven't watched the anime yet. I already know what happens, but because how I do anime of any kind is that if there is a novel, like a book or a manga, which usually there is a manga, I tend to read the manga first. I am a manga book reader. However, I'm not a person that complains about um like, "Oh, you haven't read the manga." I'm not one of those guys. Though I do get why some of the manga readers are like that. It's like, well, you want to be respectful to Japanese people. It's like, dude, the Japanese literally give two fucks. They don't care, all right? Though it is respectful to, you know, follow tradition and Japanese culture. But yeah, like I said, we watched it in sub because the dub voices just sound so, and I hate to insult the English voice actors because they all tried their best. But and that doesn't sound as encouraging as I wanted it to, but they want they sound super cringe and they don't sound like they should. And I'm not going to get into why they sucked because think Deku, or more specifically, think Deku's English voice actor if he had like I'm gonna say hit puberty again. So it's still that like weird voice, but it's slightly deeper. That's basically Tanjiro's voice. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Especially for Tanjiro. Like I don't understand why his voice is so low in the dubbed version. Now, I'm not however, what sets me apart from the rest of the sub-watchers, and or should I say, the overbearing sub-watchers, is that I don't hate on dub like constantly. I do dislike dub because it just sounds very unnatural and it doesn't sound fluid at all. But there are animes that where the the dub is better than the sub. Uh, Death Note, Naruto, um, One Piece, animes like that, those animes sound amazing dubbed. And it's very well done, and the voices fit the character. In fact, I think the dub actors fit the character more than the Japanese voice actors. But it's just most of the time the English voice actors they sound very cringe, and the words don't match up with the original script. And I do understand. Now you could argue that, oh well, they wanted to match the lip sync, so they had to change the words in some of the script. And I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, it doesn't really fit. Animes like Death Note and whatnot, like in One Piece, they don't care that the lip sync doesn't work. They still say what they say in the manga in the anime. in the sub version. They just repeat word for word, and it works. Because a lot of times people aren't staring lusciously at Elle's lips. But the word for word of the English dub fits well on the character. So I guess what I'm saying is that sub is definitely better, but that doesn't mean all dubs are bad. Because, like I said, there are good dubs. It's just most of them, aren't. Speaking of anime, now that we're on the fucking subject, and we've been on it for the past 10 minutes, I want to talk to you guys about a Discord server idea that I have, and it already exists. Like, I already have it up, but no one's in it, and I haven't shared it. Basically, it's an anime server where basically everyone it's basically on whatever day. I haven't picked a day yet because the thing isn't in motion until I have Crunchyroll and streaming apps where I can watch anime. Basically, on the day that we watch the anime, we spin a wheel to watch whatever anime. Then we watch it. We watch one episode because some animes can have episodes that are like 30 minutes long. We watch one episode, and then we have a discussion afterwards. We theorize afterwards. And then we also talk about character design and whatnot. We do whatever in the discussion. And then after that, we move forward to the next episode and the next episode until the anime's done. And then we spin the wheel to decide which anime we're going to watch next. That's the general idea. And there are so many anime that I haven't... I've only ever watched, I think, let's see, I'm trying to think of the anime that I've completed. I've only ever watched 3 romance animes to completion, and I've only ever, watched, finished Demon Slayer. Now, the reason I've only ever finished it is because how I do it is, as a manga reader, I read the manga first before I watch the anime. The reason I do it is because that gives the anime more life, in my opinion. Because you get to see all the color go into the animation and the voices and whatnot and the music, and makes it more emotional and more entertaining. But I read the manga first because, I don't know, it's just very... Oh god. Saw my RV at the auctions, all creamy and toffee pie on wheels. I don't really know what that guy's talking about. I read the manga first because it feels a lot more natural that way. And I also like reading. I do like reading. It's a hobby of mine. Albeit not a very popular hobby anymore, since a lot of people tend to just watch shows rather than read the scripts. But, again, unlike most manga readers, I don't throw shade at people who watch the anime. I read the manga first because you get the original material, so that way, if there is anime exclusive scenes that they add in, because, animes do that, I don't have to worry about being disappointed when I read the manga, or surprised, and I'm like, oh wait, did they add that in? I can get the original story first, and then when I watch the manga, it has all the extra stuff after added. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a nitpick thing that I have. I don't really worry about it too much, though, thankfully. I don't really tend to be super strict on that rule. I've watched a lot of, like, I forget what studio it is, but the studio that made Ponyo, the that like hour-long movie anime, Ponyo, that was a really good movie. And every movie that they make in there is a very nice, well done animation. And the stories are always super sweet. And it's always very nice. So I do like that studio. But that's the thing though, those I've only watched a few of their movies, and they're all separate stories and whatnot. And I haven't watched any of the mainstream stuff, and I've only read manga. I started reading Jujutsu Kaisen. I started reading Chainsaw Man. I started reading ReZero. I've started reading um, Dress Up Darling, Dangers in My Heart, Komi Can Communicate, My Hero Academia. I finished Death Note. I finished Demon Slayer. And right now I'm working on My Hero Academia. That's the manga series that I'm working on right this moment. That's the one I'm collecting currently. However, my collecting has stopped briefly because I ran out of room on my current bookshelf, so I have to get a bigger bookshelf in order to continue collecting, because that's what I want. I love reading, and it's also good for the mind to read. Now, I am aware I made a video on Rent a Girlfriend on how I don't like the ending and whatnot, but also I only know about the ending because it was floating around everywhere, and I also had considered I'm still gonna get the manga, and I'm still gonna read the full story because I know the gist of what the story's about, but at the same time, that's just really fucking cuck behavior. Like, that's not cool, man. Ruining the story just because you had romantic feelings about a character you made is fucked. Like, how much of a cuckold could you be? Anyway, before I rant about that, or rant? Before I rant about that, there are multiple anime or mangas that I've started, but I haven't finished, and um, I didn't even get to. Oh wait, yeah, there is one more. It's One Punch Man, and the English dub is one of those dubs that like fit the character more than the Japanese version. Um, so I watched that with my mum, and it was very good. I want to read the manga though because manga looks awesome, and season 3 is not going to be coming out until either later this year or into next year. So that's that. If I have to watch it on an illegal website, whatever. And they're not really illegal because there's ads and they're paying for the license and whatnot to like show the shit. So, but circling back, the Discord server basically is I would download the video, and with Discord Nitro, I would upload the entire episode onto like the Discord for people to watch. But we'd also watch it live, and we'd all get um, a similar experience. So yeah, that was basically the gist of that. Mm. An argument that I can think of. Oh. Hmm. What am I missing? What am I missing? Water bowl. Oh, the doghouse. My bad. Alright, good. Hey Doc, Cal here. Got a job for you over at my folks' Bulago. Okay, there's that. Awesome. Yeah, it was the bungalow. That was the one we did. Oh. Okay, like I said, we can do the bike real quick, and then we'll do the bungalow. Get it done, and then we'll end stream. Yeah, back here. There we go. Ta-da. Okay. Less than 10 minutes. Awesome. Please. Thank you. Alright, hey Doc, you know I mentioned my folks, well I think it's time their bungalow met your pressure washer. It's so filthy it's hard to tell where the ground ends and the house begins. When I mentioned you to Ma, her eyes lit up, Pop moaned and said the browner the porch, the warmer the torch. Which clearly means nothing, so he's overruled. If you could give the place a good clean up, I'm sure it'll give them both a lift. Thanks again. Yep. My question is like, are all these people like physically here? It's funny because the reason I stopped streaming Fortnite for a while is because the friend group that I was in cut me off basically. So yeah, I wasn't very interested in playing a game that we all used to play together. It brought too many memories back, and I kind of wanted to move on. So, fortunately, Gorillas. I did say to myself that the only thing that would bring me back to the game would be if they added Gorillas to the game, and they did. So they brought me back. Mighty Morph. I'm pretty sure there was another version of Power Rangers. I think it was called Dino Charge or something that I liked as well, but Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was the GOAT. It was the original show, and I loved it. I loved it with every fiber of my being. Piece of shit. It's kind of working. So, camping, keep up with one. Okay. Okay, and that's where I'm gonna end this episode. That's right. Um, I am ending this one here because we've been going on for almost 2 hours. I'm gonna take a short break and start a new stream, and then we're gonna play um a few more. We're gonna go for another 2 hours. So, but first, I'm gonna get something to eat real quick because it's lunchtime, and then I will start the stream back up. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring that bell so you never miss a video, and go join the Discord so you can be part of this angelic community. I'm the Dark Ink Angel. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.